How many of you?
How many is in the car?
Two.
My daughter's 3 years old.
A 3-year-old and a mom.
It started as just another evening stroll for Liam and his partner walking through the stormy streets of Birmingham. But as they neared a flooded area, something caught Liam's eye, something that would turn a peaceful walk into a life-or-death situation. A trapped car, water rising fast, and a cry for help that sent chills down their spines. What Liam did next would leave everyone speechless. But how did he get there in time, and what was waiting for him inside that sinking car? Keep watching to find out what happens next. But first, if you're enjoying our stories and want to support the channel, hitting that like button really helps us out and means a lot. You'd be doing us a huge favor. Liam Steisch and his partner were enjoying a quiet walk, a routine escape from their busy lives, when an unexpected crisis transformed their peaceful evening. The skies above Birmingham had been dark for days as Storm Hank roared across the UK, bringing with it fierce winds and relentless rain. Flood warnings echoed on the news, but the couple hadn't thought much of it as they headed out. After all, life has a way of going on, even during a storm. But what began as a simple stroll through Hall Green was about to take a dramatic turn. As they approached a familiar footbridge, a loud, unmistakable sound sliced through the stormy night. A desperate scream, barely audible over the wind and rain, but clear enough to signal danger. Liam stopped in his tracks, scanning the surroundings. That's when he saw it. A car submerged up to its windows in floodwater, caught in the swirling currents beneath the bridge. His heart raced. There was no time to think, only to act. In the dim light, he could make out a woman trapped inside, and in the back seat a small child. The car was sinking, water rising rapidly. With no emergency services in sight, it was clear, if he didn't do something, they wouldn't make it. Liam, without a second thought, bolted toward the edge of the footbridge. His partner, who had been filming their walk moments earlier, instinctively followed, her camera still rolling. What unfolded next was a display of bravery few people ever witness, let alone expect. As Liam reached the edge of the water, the woman's cries grew louder. She was frantic, not for herself, but for her child, trapped in the back seat. Her terror was palpable. Liam yelled back, reassuring her as best as he could, though he knew there was no time for words, only action. Wasting no time, Liam grabbed the closest rock he could find and, with all his strength, smashed it against the car window. It took a few attempts, but finally the glass shattered and cold water poured into the car. Without hesitating, Liam reached inside, first pulling the child from the back seat. The little girl, drenched and terrified, was quickly passed up to his partner, who had climbed down from the bridge.
Oh my God, grab that little girl. 1 second, hello?
The child sobbed as she was held tightly, her cries mixing with the storm around them. "Mommy's fine," his partner reassured her, voice trembling with emotion. "Mommy's fine. Look." But the mother was still inside, struggling against the rising water. Her eyes locked on Liam, arms outstretched in a silent plea for help. Liam didn't hesitate. He grabbed her, pulling with all his strength as the current tried to drag them both down. Somehow, they managed to leap from the car, stumbling onto the grassy bank nearby. They were soaked, breathless, but alive. In the aftermath, the footage of Liam's heroic actions spread quickly across social media, capturing the dramatic rescue in real time. But when asked about the incident, Liam downplayed his actions, his humility, evident, Mike. I just followed my instincts. He said, "I'm not a hero. I just did what anyone would have done in that situation." Yet to those who witnessed the rescue and to the mother and child who owed him their lives, he was nothing short of a hero. The incident wasn't just a story of quick thinking. It was a moment of humanity in the midst of a storm that had already taken its toll on the country. Storm Hank had wreaked havoc across the UK, leaving towns submerged in water and claiming its first victim in Gloucestershire. where a man tragically lost his life after a tree fell on his car. Emergency services were stretched thin, racing to respond to the devastation that had struck communities from coast to coast. For many, Liam's bravery was a beacon of hope amid the chaos. As news of the storm's destruction spread, the focus slowly shifted from the broader devastation to the individual acts of courage that emerged in its wake. Liam's story became a rallying point, a reminder that even in the worst of times, people have the power to step up and make a difference. But for Liam, the day was simply one where instincts took over. As the storm continued to batter the UK, he returned to his daily life, content knowing that he had helped in a moment of crisis. The rain continued to pour and the winds howled, but somewhere in a dry home, a mother held her daughter close, thankful that someone had been there when they needed it most. While the UK braced for more turbulent weather, the ripple effect of one man's actions reverberated far beyond that rainy night in Birmingham. Liam Stike may have walked into that storm an ordinary man, but for one mother and her child, he had become the reason they would get to see tomorrow. And as for the rest of the country, his story served as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, light can be found in the kindness and bravery of others. As for the storm's aftermath, the recovery would take weeks, even months. Roads remained closed, families were displaced, and the cleanup efforts were relentless. Yet, the spirit of community, sparked by acts of heroism like Liam's, was stronger than ever. People came together, neighbors helping neighbors, strangers offering shelter, and communities rebuilding one step at a time. The storm had tested their resilience, but it also revealed the strength of their compassion. Liam's actions that night became part of a larger story, one of a nation weathering the storm together. His humility in the face of overwhelming gratitude was a testament to the quiet heroes who step up when no one else can. It wasn't about being celebrated or making headlines. For Liam, it was about doing what needed to be done in that fleeting moment when life and death hung in the balance. In the days that followed, Liam's story continued to inspire others. People shared their own acts of kindness during the storm, stories of firefighters wading through waist-deep water to save families, volunteers working tirelessly at makeshift shelters, and countless others who, like Liam, didn't hesitate when it mattered most. In times of crisis, we often look for heroes in capes or uniforms. But as Liam Stike showed the world that night in Birmingham, sometimes the real heroes are the ones who simply follow their hearts, even when it leads them into the floodwaters. And as the rain finally began to subside, leaving behind a country changed by the storm, one thing was certain. Liam's story, and the stories of all those who stepped up in the face of adversity, would be remembered long after the floodwaters had receded. Liam's actions reminded us all that in the face of nature's fury, human courage shines the brightest.